Indian fans, you might be absolutely disgusted with your team's performance tonight because history's been made. The last time Sri Lanka won an ODI series, it was 1997. In that year, so many things happened. Diana passed away. Mother Teresa passed away. Harry Potter came out. Pagers were still in existence. It was exactly 9,844 days ago that Sri Lanka won a bilateral series, an ODI against India. And oh my God, I'm lost for words. My name's Avanish. You're watching this cricket.com review, the third one international with, of course, Jeet and Nikhil, who graced us with their presence in the preview, but here in the review, it is going to go off and how. We're going to rant and review in the next 25 minutes or so, and we'll take all your comments. Apologies that we're 3.5 minutes late, but if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the like video straight away because there's so much to talk about. Next, you called it, man. You said if Sri Lanka get even close to 250, think of this game as a goodbye defeat. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, they were going to back their strength, which is spin, and they did that to perfection. I think Avishka played a great knock to give them that platform. And yes, you relax with Vasan. That was my exact reaction when the changes happened. That thank God that there is no KL. Otherwise, everything would have been blamed on him. But again, I'll stick to what I said in the past as well, that this series, entire series, is not on the batting. To me, the bowling has been a massive letdown. And I know people will have their thoughts on the toss and Sri Lanka bowling whenever they did. But I think the bowling was, I wouldn't say horrible, but it left a lot to be desired, and well played to Sri Lanka. They completely outplayed India. So well done.
Yeah, and credit where credit is due because they did spin us out. And how? Apparently, this is a mad stat again, Jeet. In the history of ODI cricket in bilaterals, no team has lost that many wickets as they have as India did this series to spin. About 26 wickets or 28 wickets they've lost to spin, which is ridiculous. Is this a reality check or what for our prestigious batters?
I think it is because we are often considered to be good batters of spin, but people don't mention that we are good batters of spin when the ball is not actually turning. But when the ball actually starts to grip a lot, the batters start to struggle and the technique keeps getting exposed. So that is where we end up finding huge issues, and that's exactly what the theme was throughout these three games as well. So barring Rohit Sharma and the quick starts that he was giving, it was a shocking performance that followed after that. And it also reflects on the eventual numbers, right? Because for somebody like Rohit to finish with, say, 157 runs at a strike rate of 140 plus, and the next best being half of him with 79 Akshar Patel, there's a huge difference in how the batters went about it. And man, I think there is a lot to learn out of this series, and it's the experienced batters who have faltered so much. So these aren't good signs.
Indeed, it is. In 27 is the exact number of wickets lost by India to spin this series. So I stand corrected over there. And it also makes you think how Colombo has just not been a happy hunting ground at times for India because they've just been absolutely bundled out. Good to see a lot of people in the chat already. Shankar, Vikas M, Parth, Damodar Bandla going on to see. I'm so sad for sports fans for today as India lost a medal in the Olympics in the last series against Sri Lanka. I mean, the Paris gods haven't been kind in the Olympics to the Indians, but hopefully Mirabai Chanu does something tonight. But if you guys are, of course, tuning in to cricket.com right now and just seeing what's gone on in that game, Sri Lanka winning by 110 runs. And it's kind of depicted well in this match summary of ours. They won the toss, not for the first time this series, but the third time, all three times choosing to bat first. And Avishka Fernando, who didn't get going in the series, he's 96, taking Sri Lanka to the eventual 250 mark, 248 for 7. Lots of talking points in terms of India's bowling. Riyan Parag, 3 for 54, as you could see there. Sundar and the spinners, of course, doing huge amounts of bowling, given that Arshdeep was rested. Dubey bowled 4 overs, but in response, apart from Rhodes 35 and a cameo later on by Washington Sundar and a brief knock from Kohli, India were never in contention to chase this down. So, look, lots of stats, lots of things to love on cricket.com. We'll talk about the top performers and everything like that, but Virat Kohli, again, they're going to be mad stats about him personally, the team as well, and stuff like this that you guys can see on cricket.com. So what are you waiting for? Download the app and get on our bandwagon right now. Lots of comments to take through. Rafil Chamba, for example, saying these things in the comments, boys. Series lessons for India is that they are used to fast-paced batting. Sometimes they need to slow down and play it as a test game. and they will go back to the drawing board because I know they don't play ODIs for a while now. But again, Shankar making a point, we are good players of spinning pitches that don't spin except for Rohit. And let me just start with India's batting, and then we'll, of course, go and talk about some of the bowling changes and what we like there. The batting again, Nix. I mean, is it spin which is particularly going away from our batters, troubling us, whether it's leg spin, any sort of wrist spin, or left arm spin as well?
See, to me, it was a case of not having enough, I would say experience, but you don't play on such decks very often. So you're not going to be equipped to suddenly just handle whatever is thrown at you. The disappointing bit was a lot of these players have in the past shown us so much good control against spin. You talk about Gill, or you feel, oh, yes, he's come good. Virat is good at picking spin as well, but in the 3 games, the way he's gotten out, it's clearly looked at he hasn't picked the ball at all. So that has happened. Shreyas Iyer, Shivam Dube, one of your prolific spin hitters, but then if you're not picking, how are you going to hit spin? So to me, it was a case of India just not being used to such conditions, and they were all playing ODI cricket after a while, and it did not help that they were chasing in all the 3 games, but it just felt that they didn't have answers. And it's not the first time it's happened. It's happened in Test cricket at times as well, when you've played in certain conditions in the subcontinent where it's spun a lot. You've found a way to lose wickets to Moeen Ali, to Root, and others as well. So that is the risk you run running when you play on such decks. So I don't know if there is a straight away out in terms of this the problem, but it's a good uh, opening that there is a lot of work to be done there, because of course you may not play on such decks very often, but if you do, you need to find a way. So that is something that I'm looking forward to. That what do they do to change this? Because these are all enough experienced players. They are not newbies or not who are caught in front of the headlights, so to speak. So they have their way. It's worked in the past, but not so much this time. And this should stick, and only then it will reflect in the changes that they make to their game plan.
Rohit was good for his 35 again, playing one shot too many, you feel. And many people are saying on X, I just read recently, that if he's so well set, why doesn't he go on and give you those 80s and 90s and 100s instead of these 40s, 50s, and 60s? And again, we can't be greedy because, of course, we appreciate the intent behind Rohit's approach nowadays in ODIs and white ball cricket at large. But again, the other batters, you look at someone like Shreyas Iyer, who's been dubbed as a spin batcher, Jeet, of late. Someone like Virat, who generally has good numbers against spin. I know left arm spin doesn't look really good in Virat of late, but how do they kind of correct these chinks in their armor? Because you look at him in the 2025 Champions Trophy, similar conditions, I'm guessing maybe slightly better to bat on depending where they play. And then even fast forward that, there's some important series down the line in these parts of the world.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of the problem stems from the domestic cricket as well, because what I've observed in the domestic cricket in India is that the pitches that are prepared have a lot of grass on it. So they generally, tend to aid the pacers initially, and because of the extra grass, the pitch holds up nicely. So say, eventually you'll find the pitch not turning a lot. So we are good, like I mentioned. I mean, we are good batters of spin, but not really when the ball turns around a lot. So it's been a huge issue. So probably somebody like Cheteshwar Pujara has been a standout. That guy genuinely knows how to play spin, and that's something I don't see with the other batters. They don't have the smartness of, say, using their feet and getting to the pitch of the ball, and the next ball they stay back in the crease, anticipating the ball to be a lot more short, and then cut it or pull it. These batters don't seem to have that game of that adjustment. So that's been a long withstanding issue with most of these batters. Even like Virat Kohli, I mean, he generally picks up lengths really well of the spinners, and he's either, probably on the front foot or on the back foot really well. But when it comes to picking up the variations from the left arm spinners or even the right arm wrist spinners, he's a bit sketchy, and he's had a long, track record of, not being able to pick googlies. And I think in all 3 games he was out LBW to spin. So that also goes on to show. And like Nick said, Shreyas Iyer and Shivam Dube, these are our 2 designated spin bashers. But there haven't been any contributions. That again begs the question: what's the point of Shivam Dube when it comes to the ODI format? T20Is, I think most of us were, like fine having him in the side because he could know the impact he could have in those middle overs. But ODI, man, it's a lot longer as a format, and you would still be a little bit skeptical with him in this format of the game.
Points to consider here, and there's some good comments coming through on this Wednesday evening. Keep it coming through, guys, and we're here for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe to take all your questions, because I know it's a tough day for an Indian fan, but like this video nonetheless, please. Vignesh Ram going on to say, I don't want India to go into anchor mode more than one guy, even if we lose. England, Australia don't play that way, even if they lose. And again, it's about the mindset. It's about everyone buying into that philosophy, Vignesh Ram. It's easier said than done. Noodle Hacks with Vasan saying India is good in pitches, either slow or turn, but this pitch was both. And again, I think Jeet was spotting the fact that it was a horrible pitch report from Russell Arnold, but generally it played pretty well. It wasn't as spitty as Nix was suggesting, but again, we could just guess from the comfort of our living rooms. Damodar saying, Nix, for me, even from the World Cup last year, Kohli didn't get runs as quickly he was in 2012 to 2019, that phase. After COVID, I see he's lost momentum to shift gears in the match. I mean, we almost kind of thought that he has the answers to spin with the IPL not too long ago, pulling out that slog sweep and prolifically using that every time he was in a tangle. Were you surprised that he didn't kind of counterattack the spinners this series?
But it's a different ball game, right? You can't quite compare a shortened game where you know the spinner only has 4 overs to bowl, and there is a way that you can put pressure on him by even just rotating. One day format gives the bowler a lot more room to work with. And these weren't the pitches where you can say that you can just counterattack. You had to see the amount of risk that had to be taken for you to counterattack. And something that I'll again possibly have a slight bias that I will not blame the batting as much, because they always batted in difficult situations, in difficult conditions for batting. It wasn't that they were batting first when the ball wasn't doing much. You saw how Sri Lanka batted even today. For the first 25 odd overs, it was not spinning. Nissanka was happy to sweep because the ball was not spinning. Now, if the ball was not spinning in the second half, they would have done the same thing. But it's not a one thing that fits all. But as you know, Jeet also pointed out, there are issues there, and Sri Lanka were smart enough to identify them. Now, whether you need the sweep or whether you want to use the feed, but if the ball is turning so much right from the first power play, you are going to be doubting your own game, that how do you find the way out? Which is why I keep saying the score was far too much at any point of time for India to think they will need somebody from the top to bat really deep. And this is where I know we haven't questioned Gill at all, but he's also someone who we have touted as the guy who bats big and takes on spin, but he hasn't even lasted that long for him to make an impact. So I think it's a very good series for all of these ODI batters to just introspect. But to me, I'll still hold the bowling hostage for some reason. Not for some reason, but for me, the bowling is the bigger problem here.
Yeah, okay. And fair thoughts will come to the bowling as well, because there was a lot to dislike the series more than like. I'm talking about the ODI series. And speak of ODIs, India don't play another ODI for a while. And I said that just a while ago. I'll say that again. And Nick's mentioned the word introspect there. Again, hopefully it's not chopping and changing when these guys actually play the 50-over format next. There's lots of questions, and that's great to see. Pant making this comment about Rohit. Noodle Hacks Vasant saying, panelists, I couldn't see about the stumping that Pant missed that is trending on X since I was in office. Can you say that about, please? We'll take that comment in the end of the show, because those are little nitty-gritties. We'll speak about Pant also in his batting, and if that was a big chance blown for him personally. Meanwhile, Sai Kumar Yangala, welcome to the chat. Let's appreciate Sri Lanka's efforts, how they came back to the game after a whitewash in T20s. In fact, how this whole tour, guys, it's panned out. Win-win for India, then tie, and then loss. So the WTL in Sri Lanka, we were joking in office with regards to that. We lost to a second-string ODI attack of Sri Lanka, almost a clean sweep, saying Sachin Mondal. Vishal Kulkarni, beg your pardon, saying we are compensating domination in Sena countries with the lack of ability to play spin in the subcontinent. And it doesn't stop there, because Daniel M saying Pant has to go. How long are they going to overlook 56 ODI average? Sanju, even KL would have been better if they both redeemed today. Let's talk about Pant then, because Daniel has brought up a good talking point. Lots of people, in fact, are speaking about Pant and KL and all of that. So, Jeet, where are you on this? Because even in the preview, we were like, dude, KL, even for the next 10, 15 games, KL gets the run in ODI cricket. And we're not budging from our stance, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think today was a good reflection. I mean, that dismissal pretty much summed it up. That's typical Rishabh Pant. He's not so patient for this format of the game. Like, we know that he's a naturally aggressive batter. And whenever he sees spinners, he likes to go after them. He likes to use his feet, and all those sweep shots and all that stuff comes out. So his patience levels, kind of runs very, very thin in this format of the game. Whereas KL Rahul, if you even look at the bigger picture here in terms of the target that India were chasing on a pitch like this, they were again, tailor made for somebody like KL Rahul. I know first two games he failed, but let's, cut in some slack because he's also playing after a while. So I think KL Rahul always is going to be better suited because we've also seen situations where he has walked in requiring to maintain the tempo of 6 per over or 7 per over, and he's done that as well successfully. So it's quite baffling as to why Pant was given this one game and what were again India or the coaching staff trying to squeeze out of it. Because even if Pant had delivered, what did it prove? Nothing, right? And he has failed, so it again proves nothing. So why not just stick to one keeper? Have somebody else as the backup keeper. That's fine, but have the two wicket keepers set. In a T20 as also we have been struggling for answers because even that is one format where we were having debate with Samson and Rishabh Pant. But eventually we still don't know the answer because Samson came and got a couple of games and we know how it ended. Now this format, KL Rahul got 2 games after a long time. It didn't work out, Pant isn't. So I think there is a lot of jumbled thinking when it comes to two formats and our two wicket keepers. One, the primary wicket keeper and the secondary wicket keeper. But I would go with KL Rahul, that's for sure, in this format of the game.
And that's my point, Nix. We were speaking about in the preview as well. Even if Pant went on to score a match-winning 75, then more good problems, headaches to have, yes. But now again, you're thinking to yourself, is this the last chance for Pant? Because ODIs is not going to happen anytime soon. Then they'll go back to KL, I'm guessing, because it'll be too close to the Champions Trophy. And this was just an experiment which fell flat in its face.
Yeah, it was an absolutely unnecessary experiment, to be very, very honest. This is your Bro, this is a World Cup. Of course, they did not win, but this is a world finalist team. There was a reason that they went till that point of time. If you feel Shreyas and KL are just mugs that you can replace easily, please, good luck. Try and find them. You had 4 or 5 years trying to find a settled middle order. Now, when you eventually got a settled middle order, you wanted to try a few things. Good luck doing that, but in that process, do not take away the role from them. And that is something that we discussed in the preview as well. That sometimes with some players, it's their perception. We think about Pant, we think about aggressive batting and this. But dude, the other guy has done it enough for you to give him enough chances. Why would you want to change it for? And again, it's not that this is that you have 8-10 games and then you are saying, okay, let's give this guy 3-4 games and then this guy 4-5 games and then we take a call. That wasn't the case. This was a one-off game. You gain nothing even if Pant fails. You gain nothing even if he does well. Because at this point of time, what are you telling KL? That you batted out of positions in 2 games. So in the third game, you take a rest. Let Pant bat at a spot that we do not know if he's going to bat at that spot. It's something that you have tried for the sake of it, but good luck. And which is why all of these experiments need to be done with a clear thought process. In one game, you send Sundar up the order. In second game, you send Shivam up the order. And today, you send somebody else. This is not a T20. This is not a 4-5 series game, and then there is more games for you to experiment. I don't know how much you can gauge from this very limited time of watching people bat and people play. Now, Pant missed the stumping. He had a soft dismissal today, or however he got up. How much can you read into it? If I am saying that batting is not at fault because they batted in difficult situations, you have to give them that room that it was difficult to bat. So I wouldn't read too much into Pant, but I would read into it like it's an unnecessary thing. You have tried to fix what is not broken. So now, good luck when the next series comes because you will have to be very clear with the dressing room that what is the order. And you played with fire in the World Cup with Surya at 6. Good luck if you want to do that again.
And very key points you mentioned there. It's not a T20, it's the 50-over format. There's a lot of time than you think out there in the middle. So what's the point of sending different left-handers to just kind of have some sort of knee-jerk reaction in the middle and in-game management and all of that? Dubey and ODI, Prashant Agarwal laughing his absolute backside off. Ishan has a 42-plus average in ODIs across multiple positions. If Shreyas can come back, why not him? Ishan has not even got a reckoning for the GSCA in terms of the 25 probables. He's just got in. So he still needs to do that because remember, Jay Shah said that they can't have players who don't want to focus on the domestic scheme of things. Janakan, Anatin, Danushan, if you're from Sri Lanka, please subscribe. Must be an absolute glorious day for you. Sundar's got a 30, but top orders got out for single digits. Shows that you applied. Shows that if you applied, you could see it through. But again, there was, at that point in time, the game was done. Sundar was fancying his chances. It was not like 170 was required as a target, because then Sundar would have not probably played that. So it's about things like that. Why our middle order sucks and there is no proper backups in the middle order, we're trying to figure that out. And then randomly, there's a point who Vasan Narayan's making. We need to move on from Kohli. Oh, come on. You're telling me Virat Kohli needs to be looked on and moved on from the ODI format just because of this one series? I mean, I don't want to go there, Vasan. I just generally don't want to go there. But I will take your other comment where you're saying get Abhishek Sharma, get Tilak when he's fit, and give Parag more chances. Now, Rohit Sharma.
Sorry, Vasan, this is what India has done in this. This is exactly what India have done in this ODI series. They've given Rian Parag one game. They've given Sundar one game. So good luck trying to make things in 1 or 2 games. This is not how ODI cricket works. Again, ODI cricket for a reason. It shows you cannot take it for granted.
No, that is true. That is absolutely true. Path going on to say Kohli looked horrible versus spin. I'm sorry, but if a legend makes a valid criticism, you need to take it in your chin rather than looking down upon him. I mean, again, learnings, going back to the drawing board. It's 3 games, and I'm not saying this should define a player's career. Like, why they pull the plug on KL as well? I have no idea. Gigi is honest, hardworking, just above in setting tactics and falls humongous in skills compared to Dravid and Ravi. Now, let me just quickly put out a quote that Rohit Sharma gave right now, like 20 minutes ago. I don't think the whole batting has been a concern, he went on to say, but it is something that we have to look individually as a game plan. It is a joke when you're playing for India, and there's never going to be complacency. He went on to add saying in his era, whenever he's captain, complacency is not even a thing. So obviously, they've just been outdone, right? I mean, credit to Sri Lanka and their spinners again for outfoxing India time and time and again. Let me just quickly talk about another Indian batter who didn't succumb to spin, Jeet, today, but has been in, again, a lot of headlines for right or wrong reasons. Shubman Gill. Today, again, the dismissal, shot selection, maybe a brain fade coming down to, who was it, Fernando, and getting his leg stump dislodged. I mean, how do you sum up Gill's tour of Sri Lanka, let alone this ODI series?
Look, I remember during the Zimbabwe series when he had, performed really well at that point in time, people were getting carried away because pitch was really good at that time. And one of the points that I made at that point in time was that it's fine for him to deliver against a team like Zimbabwe on a pitch that aids the batters. But commit the future where, pitches are a lot more testing and the bowling attacks are good, he's going to be tested because he has got technical flaws which are very, very evident, in particular against pace. And the dismissal that we saw today was pretty much on the similar lines. He's just got that one technique of planting his front foot forward, and he just gets his hand through, and he's beautiful when the pitch is not doing anything. He gets it through the covers to the offside, and he looks beautiful. But as soon as the pitch starts playing tricks, whether it's say seam movement or when the bounce is variable, his technique gets found out. So that's something that has remained a constant in his career, whether it's the IPL that we're talking about or the international cricket. So that is where I think he needs to work upon it. So one of the things that I was harping about a few years ago was why India needs to have somebody like Shubman Gill or Prithvi Shaw go to county cricket and play there, because that is where your skills are going to get tested, and that is where you're going to hone your technique a lot more better because the ball moves around, and that is where you improve. That's exactly what happened with Ishant Sharma as a bowler. He improved as a bowler over there, courtesy Jason Gillespie, because he learned how to control the swing and seam, and we saw the impact of that. Something similar needs to be done with Shubman Gill, Prithvi Shaw. Good thing is, yes, Prithvi Shaw has gone to county cricket. He's doing that. Gill went for a few matches, that's it. So just like that, it's not going to happen. Playing in India, playing in domestic cricket over here, your skills are not going to improve when the ball, seams around or swings around, because that is where we are always found out. And with Shubman Gill, the same thing continues. And I've seen that during the IPL as well. So something needs to be done. There are these technical adjustments that he needs to make to be really effective on pitches which are not flat.
Yeah, I think with Gill, they've obviously penciled him in as a poster boy of Indian cricket, and hence the vice captaincy delegations also kind of gone his way. So interesting times for Gill over there. Random other comments coming through in this post-match review. Don't blame Siraj, guys. He's being overboard and when Siraj gets into the zone, even Bumrah fails to get wickets in the match, X wickets against, example, 6 wickets against Sri Lanka in the Asia Cup 2023. Avanish, Kohli sucks versus spin. He shouldn't be there in Champions Trophy. Let him play in 2027 World Cup as it is in South Africa. Look, that's like saying, yeah, don't take Ricky Ponting to any Indian tour after he failed in 1998, then he failed in 2001, but he still played in that 2008 series, right? So you can't just write great players off, Vasant. We're not talking about any Tom, Dick, and Harry here, man. And again, I'm not being a Virat fanboy. I'm just calling it in terms of the long scheme of things. Even KL, I would say the same thing. Absolutely say the same thing about KL. Part saying I have one question regarding the first and second ODIs. I don't think the batting order was an issue. Shreyas and KL had a similar entry point. Batters who were sent above them played like 5 balls. And that's also food for thought because we lost wickets at clusters in this series. And Damodar saying, I'm saying it again. If BCCI agrees to send India for Champions Trophy, we're all seeing spin pitches all over in Pakistan. I mean, let's see if the PCB played that way because they're so used to roads. And again, Vasant not holding back. I'm for Kohli if World Cup's in Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, England, Northern Dubai, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Kohli can't play in sprint-friendly pitches. Admit it, bro. I'm not going to admit it. That's your fucking point, man. Like, you can rile me up to the comments, but I'm not going to admit it. You're entitled to your opinion. That's why it's a community right now, so it's cool. I just want to ask next couple of more things that we can talk about. Harshit Rana, I generally thought he was going to get a game in this ODI series. That didn't happen. Did we actually miss Hardik Pandya this series, or are they going to be happy with Dubey coming in bowling 4 overs? So those 2 points, would you like to see a little bit more, how do you put it? Not pace per se, because we saw how slow bowling affected the series at large, but Harshit Rana and Hardik Pandya, were those two could have made a big impact or not really?
For me, I don't know, people need to take it the right way. Shivam Dube outbowled Mohammad Siraj with the new ball. And I think it goes a long way in telling you how much and how far Siraj needs to come to having an average kind of day. So when you have options later, it is fine. India's predominant dependence is on new ball wickets. If you do not get new ball wickets, India are always going to play catch up because that's how the entire bowling lineup is set up. If Shivam Dube is going to outbowl Siraj, I'm genuinely worried that how does Siraj get to a stage where he's not so high variance? Because to me, Hardik and everybody else will come into the picture once the new ball setup is done. So, we discussed, I think cricket.com also put up stats that the numbers with and without Bumrah for Siraj in the first 10 overs are not too dissimilar, which is great. But then you sometimes you look at the numbers and you feel okay, they are not maybe telling you the complete picture, because even today you saw him lose the line, you saw him give a lot of errors. 78 runs I think is what he gave on this day in 9 overs. That is, it's just eight overs if I'm right. That is too many to give. For you to have anybody else at the other end, whether it is Shivam Dube, whether it is Harshit Rana, it wouldn't have helped because there was no pressure at any point of time on that batting lineup. So to me, of course, it's an opportunity missed to see what Harshit Rana could bring to the table, because I found it very befuddling that you drop Arshdeep Singh and not Siraj. Siraj has been playing a lot of cricket. If you think that he's tired, he's jaded, give him some time off. That again, it begs my question again that why do you want to play everybody everywhere? Make separate pools, keep them there, and then you can build towards having options. Because today with the ball, Shivam Dube didn't do anything wrong. It's like, okay, if you need somebody to bowl 4 or 5 hours, he can do that. But that's not he's not a Hardik Pandya replacement. So for me, those are still later worries. To me, the major worry is what your new ball bowling does and what pace the spinners bowl at, because that is something that I'll always be on a rant with. So to me, yes, Harshit Rana should have played, and maybe Asdeep should have played, or even Khalil. Even that would have been fine. But again, it's one game. I don't know how much we could have read into that. So, in a way, good that Siraj played all 3 games, because now we have conclusive evidence to say that there's a lot to work on that aspect for India.
Yeah, and that's again a good observation. And Jeet, you wanted to add to that, and I just wanted to ask you about India's bowling. People like Parag turning up 3 for 54. Obviously, it's great in the longer scheme of things. What else did you like from a bowling point of view, even though there was few and far to choose from?
I think Washington Sundar was a big positive for India with the ball and with some of the contributions with the bat that came down the order. He was really impressive because that's again one area that we were skeptical about, because Washington Sundar, leading even into the IPL, the domestic season that he had was absolutely horrible. And I've seen it from the grounds. It's probably one of the worst that I've seen with the bat, with the ball. There was just no form whatsoever. So I was a little bit worried about how he's going to perform. But that Zimbabwe series definitely got him back into that form, got him back into that groove, and he performed with the ball. But for him to perform like this with the bat as well, with those handy contributions down the order, was also something that stood out massively for me. Where I was really disappointed was, of course, the pace attack. All the 3 pacers averaging in excess of 50. Now, leave aside Shivam Dube, that's fine. He took 1 wicket for 38 runs or something. But Mohammad Siraj, Arshdeep Singh. It was not really a good outing for them. Siraj, I think we've often talked about, how he needs somebody else, to be in his ears. And it's always been Jasprit Bumrah who's standing at mid-off, mid-on, constantly telling him what to bowl, what not to bowl. But let's take, today for an example. Whom did he have? No one. The other pacer was Shivam Dubey. And you don't want Shivam Dubey to be in your ears telling you how to bowl pace. That's probably the last thing you want. So I think Siraj always is going to be handy when he's got other pacers who are in his ears or helping him out during his spells. As a standalone pacer, it's not really going to work out, and that's exactly what we saw. So by and large, the pace attack was fairly disappointing, but spinners I think were really good, led by Washington Sundar. Riyan Parath outing today was really impressive. And whilst Kuldeep and Akshar didn't get as many wickets as they would have liked or we would have expected, their bowling was still a lot more better. So, but anyway, at the end of the day, that's what you expect, right? Sri Lanka and all the tracks were turning, so the spinners are going to have better averages. But I think pace attack was really, really found out without Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah, the Pacers have a forgetful series in this one. Like you pointed out, the average is over 50 for them. And highest wicket taker for an India perspective, this ODI series was Washington Sundar. 5 wickets for him. The other spinners got 4 each. And Lanka had more wickets than any other Indian bloody bowler, man. Sad stats. But if you guys are joining us, good to see everyone in the comments. Sagnik, including you, just a hello, guys. He goes on to say, hope you are well, joining the live after a bit. You're a legend, mate, and everything is great with us. Hope everything is good with you as well in Kolkata, I'm guessing. Damodar is saying Dubey is a liability rather than an all-rounder addition to this team. Sai Madhav going on to say, but I'm disappointed with him in the bat. Boy, he's talented with the bat, but he didn't play up to the expectations, but we'll give him a long group. I think he was talking about Sundar there. Path is saying, is Jadeja out of the reckoning in ODIs, considering what Washi and Akshar's performance in both departments? Akshar's not done anything wrong. Washi as well. Again, the only off spinner that we have right now, unless you want to bring back Ashwin from his TNPL exploits. Sports fans saying, suffering from bad news in the Olympics. Just check to find out that we're losing in cricket too. Yeah, not an ideal day if you're a sports fan from India. Siraj is too worked up, more focused on sledging than the bowling. And even Max Mojo wanted to point that out earlier, saying, why was Siraj and Kohli ganging up on Kushal Mendis? What happened there? First of all, there were quite a bit of animated scenes happening there. When Riyan Parag got that man LBW, Virat was just going absolutely crazy. Like the Virat that we've seen in that 27 test series against Australia, that was the Virat which was unfurled. And then Siraj, before he got Kusal Mendis LBW, he was having a little word. And then obviously Kohli got involved backing Siraj. And how many times we've seen that? I think the last time we saw that was again the subcontinent, Liton Das, if you remember in the test series, how those two kind of got at it. Karan B, good to see you. How long can India keep out someone like Jaiswal in the ODI setup? Nix, that's a good one to take. And again, these kind of series shouldn't, of course, scare people like Gambhir and the rest of the Indian management, but people like Jaiswal will be quietly happy and be like, ek aur format lock ho gaya, bhai.
I mean, tells you how highly we rate him that the guy is yet to make his debut in this format, and we are still very sure about him coming off. And see, this is what you want from a competition POV, that it is good that you have such options, because many countries don't have that option. So it's good that it's there, and I'm sure it will keep the pressure on Gill to come good. And which is why maybe the vice captaincy was given to him with the point of view that we do not want you to be worked up about your spot, but this is an assurity to you that you will be part of the setup. And see, it is something that is a part of Indian cricket that at this point in time, in that entire top 5, apart from Rohit, we are questioning everyone in terms of Virat versus Spain, Shreyas versus Bow, scaled out. So, kuch bhi karo, KL is always questioned. And you have Gill. So there is opening for you to come into the setup. So the problem is you're not playing any ODIs. So I'm assuming that somebody will make a few calls soon, and we'll have a few more series to see what are the options. Because if you go just like this to the Champions Trophy, I do not know what to expect, because it is hard. You saw what happened when you take 8 months to play your first ODI. ODI cricket takes time, takes tempo. You have to play it enough for you to be in that groove. So if Jaiswal has to come in, he has to come in before the Champions Trophy. Unfortunately, there are no games. So I don't know how to look at it.
Yeah, spot on again, because if you actually take this team and probably add your Hardik and Bumrah, you're adding balance in Hardik and a cheat code in Bumrah, and hopefully that makes us win another ICC tournament. But again, that's me guessing. Damodar saying if properly groomed, Riyan Parag will be the addition to the Indian team. Remember, 256th player to play ODI cricket for India. He got his cap from his idol, Virat Kohli. That was a pretty sweet video. Sai Madhav saying, is too many experiments haunted India this series? You could look at it that way. The fact they rested Hardik and then they didn't get that much out of Dubey. There's a lot of left-handers just simply thrown in the top to be a matchup sort of combat. But in the grander scheme of things, more sort of doubts than clarity. Along saying IPL auction big payday for Sri Lankan spinners. I mean, hopefully. And along, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And look, we're not going to be doing any more live content with regards to any series because there's no cricket. So MNL is your place to come and check us out and get all your questions in. And we'll, of course, be as interactive as we can in the community posts as well. Fearless Centaur, is Champions Trophy happening on spin-friendly pitches? You never know. You don't know where it's happening as well. Apparently, Dubai is being rumored here. They could have it in Sri Lanka, in Kandy. I don't know. Your guess is as good as ours. Irony is when the Gabba victory happened and Siraj was the leader of the bowling package, just his third test saying Datta. And Vignesh Ram, who's been amazing through his comments all evening. Guys, he's saying, can anyone replace Rohit Sharma and ODI in the future? The strike rate and his ability to play in bad pitches is insane. And a quick word on Rohit as well, Jeet, because you weren't there for the second ODI. And this series, again, top scorer throughout compared to all the teams, 122 runs in this series for Rohit. Is he the best ODI batter right now? Forget opener, ODI batter.
ODI batter for India or just the overall?
In the world, right now on form, is Rohit Sharma the best ODI batter?
I don't think he's the best ODI batter, but trying to come up with other names, and I can't think of the other names. But
Travis Head?
No. I wouldn't say even Travis Head is the best ODI batter at the moment. It's just that they are a lot more lethal. They are a lot more aggressive. So probably amongst the top 5 when it comes to being really aggressive. But as overall package, I don't see that because that conversion has been a bit of an issue.
Okay, fair enough. Bro, Rohit is the best batter overall and for India, not just ODI, saying Sai Madhav really quickly over there. And Sai Kumar Yangala saying next, forget about the series. Let's focus on selecting the playing 15 for the upcoming Champions Trophy because, like you mentioned, not so many ODI games before that tournament. I think we might play England in 3 in Jan, if I remember correctly. But barring that, there's pretty much nothing. So is it safe to say that these guys will anyway get the benefit of the doubt, being 2023 World Cup runners-up? It'll be this team, and then, of course, for the addition of Bumrah, right, for the Champions Trophy, because you can't possibly have any more surprises for that tournament.
Oh, 100%. And you would hope that they don't mix formats and pick people out of the test form or the test setup or the T20 setup, that because we are going to play a lot of T20s. And as much as we may hate to say it, we have been mixing formats for a living in terms of Indian cricket. So I'm just genuinely going to hope that we do not go by people's test form and T20 form. And I'm genuinely hoping that we will have at least 5 or 6 more ODIs. Somehow, there is a lot of time till Champions Trophy 2025. So there is enough time for a few meetings and a few series to be arranged because you will need it. As much as we may feel settled with this World Cup lineup, you say that, okay, you take Surya out, you put Riyan Parag there, or you put Hardik Pandya there with Jadeja and Bumrah. Oh, it feels fine, but then you see the series and you're not convinced. So I'm hoping we see a few more games because otherwise you have to trust this lot to come good. And whether they come good or not, it's a long way off at this point of time.
Yeah, it has, of course, exposed some of the spin frailties yet again, and only time will tell how India rectify that. Remember, more stats like this available on cricket.com. Riyan Parag, of course, we spoke about him. And best bowling figures an ODI debut by an Indian spinner since 2000. Parag is in that list, including Piyush Chawla, Rahul Sharma, Rahul Chahar, and now Riyan Parag. Some list that, but again, some stats with regards to that. More numbers to show you just before we wrap up. I know it's an elongated review, but Avishka Fernando, let's quickly just talk about him and what we've liked from Sri Lanka. In general, 96 for him. It was time for him to get his sort of series up and running, and it came at a critical time. But generally, so many positives to Sri Lanka, guys. Jeet, I'll start with you. Obviously, their spinners. There was a thought that they're overkilling it with spin. That wasn't to be. You look at people like Kusal Mendes getting runs, Avishka Fernando today, Nissanka has always been in runs. So now you're thinking to yourself, is this a kind of wake-up call for Sri Lanka in a right way? Jayasuriya must be thrilled to bits.
He would be, and I think when I compare the two formats, the two white ball formats specifically, I feel Sri Lanka have the squad that is a lot more suited to the 50-over format. Because if you look at the names of Kushal Mendis, Sadira Samar Vikrama, and Pathum Nisanka, the three batters in the top four, they are ideally suited for the ODI format. Avishka Fernando is naturally aggressive, and he's a lot more effective when it comes to the T20 format. Not T20s, of course. I'm saying T20, so LPL and all. He's been outstanding for every year. So when it comes to these other batters, they are really good at constructing their innings when it comes to the ODIs, and they are phenomenal. So it's a format where they were expected to do a lot more better than they did in the T20s, and that's exactly how they did. But even coming to the spin, when Vanando Hasaranga was ruled out of the first game, people were like it's a big blow for Sri Lanka. But there was Jeffrey Van der Sey, who came in for the second game, for the third game, and ended as the highest wicket taker of the entire ODI series. So that goes on to show the kind of depth they've got as far as the spin reserves are concerned as well. So it was, overall as big picture, whether it's the batting or the bowling, they had so many positives. Tunit Velalage perhaps was the best or the biggest positive to come out of this. Yet again, we have spoke about him before as well. So it was on the expected lines because that guy is genuinely talented. So it was fantastic to see him, perform in both the facets of the game as well.
Yeah, before this tour started, Nix, it was an important time for Sri Lanka as well because Sri Lanka got the reins and he was not going to be the immediate choice to be captain, but they've given him faith. Now he's pulled out an amazing ODI series result against India, something which is significant for Sri Lanka given it's after 27 years. So now with the conveyor belt of spinners they have, people and pacers waiting in the wings to come back from injury, such as Dushman Chamira, the likes of Benura Fernando, and I can go on with five more Patirana as well. Where does that put Sri Lanka in the ODI scheme of things? Because I'm thinking to them right now, like, are they going to turn a corner, so to speak?
Yeah, I'll genuinely hope so. And see, the thing that you can associate with Sri Lanka is they've always been very street smart. And you see it from the days of Mahela, Sangha, and others as well, that they know when to come good in terms of as a unit. You hear Thikshana speak after the game. He was like, we knew India are playing enough cricket in shorter bound in venues that are shorter and very good decks. So we wanted to play on spinning decks. But the same Sri Lankan side, when Afghanistan came home, they played on flat decks because they know they can't afford giving them spin decks because they will be gobbled. So I think that is, see, it's the fun of bilaterals. This is why bilaterals are fun because everybody was trying to up the other by asking them to play in difficult conditions. And it makes this batting effort even more commendable. That you look at Pathum Nisanka, Kusal Mendis also. He held himself back, Kusal Mendis, today. He was not batting at a rate that would want him to. But he knew Avishka is getting the job done. He doesn't have to go after the bowling. So he may have looked scratchy, but he got the right acceleration just at the right time towards the back end to give them that cushion score. So a lot of small things coming good together for them. And you just hope, and the guy we saw, Vikram Singh, in the T20I format, if they can get a few more guys to just come in, and they are all natural talent. So I'm looking forward to Jaiswal being there maybe for a longer period of time because I see them as a unit who is very good in terms of with the ball, and then the batting should be just enough to suit the bowling. So something like an SRH of the old, that they are a bowling heavy side, but with good smarts to know who to use when. So they're not going to be playing the Champions Trophy, unfortunately, but this is a still good build up for them for the World Cup that's still a long way away.
Yeah, it's a fantastic stepping stone. And even though they're not part of the 8 teams, like you mentioned, in that next year competition in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, with Jayasuriya, with people like Upul Taranga, Upul Chandana, I think they have Loku Hetige there as a batting coach as well. So it's a new management. And let's see if they get the best out of them in the longer format when they take on England right now. Similar names will probably be good to play in that test series. And more things to look from a Sri Lanka perspective. Just quickly, I will take a couple more comments with regards to Sri Lanka. Sai Kumar Yangala saying Sri Lanka doesn't have proper bowlers because everyone is injured, like Jamira, Shanuka, Hasaranga Patirana, and Nuvant Ashura. Despite these injuries, they still perform perfectly. I agree with you. And many people might even think that, look, they got the wins, but they had the toss luck over there. But again, I felt like those tosses mattered a lot in the results, saying Fields, Centaur. Today, for example, until 30 overs, the ball was not spinning in the Sri Lankan innings. And again, you have to have an element of luck, but credit where credit is due indeed. Time to wrap up this match review because we've literally almost hit 45 minutes of it. We love interacting with you guys as much as possible, but there'll be more interaction on the Monday Night Live and fantastic content running throughout this course of the week. Jeet, Nikhil, thank you so much. And we will leave it there. Apologies if I haven't taken any of your other questions because we're really over time. But I will end by saying this. The last 6 games of white ball cricket in India has seen an amazing shift of what emotion is in sport. You started off in the highest of highs, and throughout this course, India have just gone shit, and shittier throughout the tour. Whether that is something to consider for Gambhir, only time will tell. His Sky partnership was brilliant. The Rohit partnership, still something to work upon. We'll leave it there. Please comment and like this video. Until the next time, follow Nix and Jeet on Twitter and me as well on Instagram if you guys care. Thanks so much, guys. And bye to Vignesh Ram and bye to everyone else. We're out of here.
Cheers.